So guys, I have been using the Surface Duo 2 for a week as my main device, and I brought it with me on a trip to Colorado. And I really got to live with it, not just using it inside the house, but also moving around, traveling, going on a plane, driving, walking around in the mountains. And I have to say, I am so conflicted with this device. On the one hand, I love it. I think it's awesome. I think it is so cool how it opens and closes. I just really like this device. And then there's a part of me that just says, I cannot use this as my daily driver. I can't use this as my main phone out and about. And I'm going to get into some of the reasons why. But to start out, I want to talk about the build quality, because I think this is such a nice phone. A fingerprint magnet, as you can see. Wow, that's actually horrible looking. Try to wipe that slightly. Yeah, it's still kind of fingerprinty. I can't keep it clean for more than 2 seconds, but the build quality is excellent. It is such a nice phone. The hinge is fantastic. You can fold it all the way back and go into the phone mode. It does have that little bit of a gap with the camera. It doesn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to, if I'm being completely honest. It's actually not that bad. But what I will say is that Microsoft nailed the build quality. You know, this phone is just excellent. It feels like an expensive phone. At no point will you be complaining about the build quality of this. It is just glass on glass on glass. I mean, there's just so many panes of glass on this thing, but it feels like a good weight. It feels premium, but also at the same time, I'm not going to lie, it feels so delicate and fragile. Like, I am so afraid to drop this phone. I am terrified of it. So when I took it on vacation, going through the airport, all that, I was terrified to drop this. It is kind of slippery, and I definitely recommend getting some kind of a case or a skin or both. You know, I have the bumpers on it from Microsoft. You can see there, very thin. I don't know how much that's actually doing to protect the phone. Definitely recommend getting something more heavy duty, because that was the number one thing that bothered me while I was out and about, was just feeling like I'm gonna drop it. It is just so fragile feeling. All the glass on this, it feels kind of slippery. It just doesn't feel, I can't explain it. Like, it just, I feel like I'm gonna drop it all the time, and it's just a very scary feeling. But if you can get good protection on it, and, you know, maybe something a little grippy, like a skin or something, or maybe the Surface case that has the charging dock where you can put the pen, something to protect it, I would recommend. So build quality is awesome. It just does feel slippery. That is a warning I will give out to you guys. But as far as, like, sorry, the actual weight of the phone, it feels heavy, but not like extraordinarily heavy. It's not too cumbersome. Maybe it's because of the design of the phone and the way you hold it that it doesn't feel too heavy to me, but it it's coming in at 10.02 ounces. So, you know, 284 grams. You know, it's a weighty phone, but I think because of how the phone's weight is spread out across this, it's not too bad. It doesn't feel like too much. I like holding the phone like this, actually. It feels very nice. Now, as far as the screens on the phone, they are beautiful. I think, again, Microsoft knocked it out of the park. Really nice AMOLED screens, 90 hertz refresh rate. They are super nice. I am so pleased with what Microsoft did here with the screens. They're vibrant. The blacks are deep. You can see here I did a custom wallpaper with the Pittsburgh Penguins on it. I fit it exactly to the screen when I made it. and it looks really nice. Because obviously you can't have a normal wallpaper, so all the other wallpapers I made weren't going to fit on this because of the very unique aspect ratio this phone has. So I made a just custom one for this one, and it looks super nice. Everything's smooth. It's really, really crisp. It's a nice display. Microsoft did a great job. It's 8.3 inches across when you have it open like this. And it's 1892 by 2688 pixels, 401 ppi. Again, I love AMOLED screens, and I think that Microsoft did an excellent job with this one. Now, as you can see right there, I will move on to a con with the screen. Touch sensitivity is bizarre. You really have to push hard to get the screen to react to your touches. And it's something that you kind of have to get used to. And I did get used to it, but it's something I want to mention because you might get the phone and say, this screen doesn't seem like it's working very well. You know, you'll go to do something and it just won't react. That still happens to me occasionally, but I definitely have gotten used to it more. It's not as bad as when I just did it right there. It's not as bad as when I first got the phone. When I first got the phone, I was extremely frustrated because I was like, why is it missing so many of my touches? But as I've gotten used to it, it's more manageable, but it does bother me. Like I still, as you can see, as I'm scrolling around here, I don't know if it's my fingers, but it just doesn't always react to my touches if I don't push hard. See, it's just sometimes doesn't. I can't explain it. Like as I'm showing you here, you might be thinking, wow, that's awful. I'm not buying this phone. It's not actually that bad. I mean, I am using this obviously behind the camera and it's a little tough to do. So I think that's why I'm missing more often. I don't actually usually have this many issues with the touchscreen, but it is weird. And I think Microsoft definitely needs to address that on a future Surface Duo, the Surface Duo 3, or what if they make another one. They got to fix the touch issue. It is odd. And I think it's going to, dissuade a lot of people from wanting to get this phone. They're going to use it and be like, it's not working. And as you can see, it's happened to me multiple times where even on video, I'm going to touch it and it isn't quite touching, which is a bit weird. Let's see if I can just get it to continue to react the way I want it to. Okay. And wow, this phone is actually mildly difficult to use with one hand. But yeah, so while it's a beautiful screen, I would say it has some touch sensitivity things that you need to get used to. I would call them issues. I know other people in other reviews said it wasn't an issue. You just got to push harder, or it's just certain people's fingers. But I shouldn't have to worry about that with a phone in 2022. So it's a little weird. It wasn't necessarily a deal breaker for me. That wasn't my biggest issue with the phone, but it might be a deal breaker for you. So I definitely say test the phone out. See if this is something you can get used to, because I did get used to it and I had way less issues scrolling through the screen as I owned the phone longer. But at first it was bizarre, some of the touch sensitivity weirdness. So something to be aware of. Beautiful screens, weird touch issues. If you don't push hard enough or you don't use like the ball of your thumb, like I can't really explain it other than that. Like if you try to use your, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like where the nail meets your thumb, it doesn't really work as well. I don't know. I can't replicate it right now, but it is odd. Just something to be aware of. And it's definitely something Microsoft should have fixed before releasing the phone, in my opinion, or they should have just made it more touch sensitive. I don't know. I've just never had this issue with a phone in 2022. It's very strange. Haven't seen this in a long time. Now, as far as the specs of the phone, you are getting the Snapdragon 888 here. It does have 8 gigs of RAM, and my model has 128 gigs of storage. So pretty decent specs. Obviously, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 is out now, but using this phone now in 2022, it feels plenty responsive. Everything loads and opens quickly. I don't really have any issues opening or closing apps. It's pretty quick and responsive. I don't find too many problems as far as apps opening and closing. I think it works well. I'm fine with the Snapdragon 888. If you need the latest and greatest, then this isn't it. But for me, the Snapdragon 888 has been plenty fast. I can barely tell a difference between this day-to-day use versus the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. 8 gigs of RAM. I think for a phone like this, I wish they put 12, just because it is such a multitasking phone that I think it would have been nice for them to put at least 12, in my opinion, would have been nice. But, you know, I guess they thought 8 was enough, and maybe it helped them keep the price down, even though the price was, in my opinion, way too high when this came out. But it is what it is. 8's fine. It's been okay. Every app opens and closes well. I've been able to run apps side by side with pretty much no issue. So I won't gripe too much about the 8 gigabytes of RAM. It seems like it's enough. Would have been nice to have other options, but Microsoft didn't go that route. As far as the cameras, you are looking at a 12 megapixel f1.7 main lens with optical image stabilization and phase detection autofocus. You're looking at a 12 megapixel telephoto with optical image stabilization, 2x optical zoom, which is a bit of a bummer. I wish they gave you a little bit more zoom than that, but they didn't. And then you're looking at a 16 megapixel ultra wide with the f2.2 aperture. You get dual LED flash, and you can record in 4K up to 60 frames per second. Now, when looking at what Microsoft has given you here with the cameras and putting it with this giant bump on the back, you know, some people hate this. Some people are fine with it. The reason I didn't like it was, of course, because of the fact that it doesn't fully fold back now like the original Surface did, which is bothersome. But, you know, is it the end of the world? No, not really. When I'm actually using the phone, it doesn't really bother me as much as I thought it was going to. Aesthetically, yes, it kind of looks ugly, and it kind of kills that sleek look with this giant bump on the back. But you get used to it, and it's really not that big of a deal to me. And when I have the phone fully opened into the phone mode, you know, it's fine. You don't really notice it that much, to be honest. You get kind of used to it. You can see the USB Type-C port down there, SIM tray, and then the fingerprint reader and volume is right there on the side. And I will say really quickly, love having the side-mounted fingerprint scanner. It's very good. It's very fast. I feel like it is in the perfect spot, in my opinion, and it works pretty much every single time. Again, I'm always advocating for real physical fingerprint readers, and I love when they put it on the side. So Microsoft, good job with that. I'd way rather have this than a crappy in-screen one, which a lot of phones are giving you, and I think is just garbage. I don't think any phone should come out with an in-screen fingerprint reader that's not excellent. Like, if you're putting a subpar in-screen fingerprint reader, then don't put it on the phone. Just put it on the side and everyone will be happy. Or put it on the back. I mean, this phone wouldn't really make sense for it to be on the back, but you know what I mean. A physical one is better than a crappy in-screen one, which a lot of manufacturers have been doing, and it's really annoying. So great job, Microsoft, with putting the fingerprint scanner on the side. It is quick. It is reliable. I've been super happy with it. I've had no issues. Excellent fingerprint reader, if I can speak. Now, when looking at the battery life of the phone, it's good. It's not fantastic. So, don't get your hopes up there. It's a 4,449 milliamp hour battery. And I wish it was a little bigger. I wish it was 5,000 milliamp hours, but just to give you a little idea of what to expect, this was one of the days, 3 hours and 50 minutes with 17% left. It's a solid 4, maybe 5 hours of screen on time you're going to get with this phone, depending on what you're doing. I wouldn't expect any more than that. So if that is a turnoff for you, not being able to get over 5 hours of screen on time, then this really isn't the phone for you. Because I have not been able to get more than that. I think, maybe with really light use, or depending on the apps that you're using, depending how battery, consuming they are, like I said, you could probably get to 5 hours. But me, I've been averaging around 4.5, 5 at the most. So just a warning, it is not a, insane battery life phone. It's not going to last you 2-3 days. It'll get you through the day. It got me through the day. I would say by the time I was going to bed, get to put the phone on the charger, it's a 1 day battery life phone and nothing more. Like, it will be dead by the time you're going to bed. That's what I can say about it. It's unfortunate. I would love for this thing to have had like insane battery life. I think that would have been so cool, especially with the form factor. And really, honestly, using this at home is more enjoyable than on the go. So I wish it did have better battery life, but it's fine for what it is. I get it. It's running 2 screens. It has the powerful processor with the Snapdragon 888. It's going to eat through battery. But yeah, keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours is all you're probably going to get battery life wise. Don't expect more than that. Now, just, moving on to the cameras, I'm going to show you guys some of the shots that I was able to get with it. It is actually a pretty solid camera. I don't know why people have hated on this camera so much. It's not a bad camera at all. I brought this, like I said, to Colorado, and I thought it was just an excellent camera. Like, I just took some really great shots with it. They came out sharp. The colors were good. They were just vibrant enough without being too vibrant. I don't know why people have hated this so much. Is it the most amazing camera in the world? No. But I think it's a very good camera sensor, and it has everything that you need from the main shooter, the ultra wide, and the telephoto. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm glad that they have given us those options. And, the portrait mode is pretty good. No complaints here. I enjoyed actually using this to take pictures with, and taking pictures with it is very interesting. Actually, let me, because when you actually like go to take a shot, you get a preview right there immediately. I love that. I think that is so awesome that they have given you, because it is kind of weird to hold, obviously, as you're taking a picture, but being able to have the preview right there is awesome. It's also a pretty good shot, pretty detailed. You can go to the ultra wide, you can go to the 2x optical. The 2x optical is fine. I mean, it's not great. I wish it was more. I wish it was 5x optical or something like that, but it is what it is. You have a portrait mode, you have the panorama, which worked fine. I'll show a sample of the panorama too. Video, not great. The video stabilization is pretty terrible. But other reviewers have talked about that. That really hasn't changed with updates, unfortunately. It's just kind of bad. I would say stand still when taking videos with this. If you stand still, the 4K footage, I think is fine. It looks pretty good. It's just when you start moving that I think it starts to kind of fall apart, and then there is a slow-mo mode. But yeah, I'll show you guys some of the photo samples now so you can take a look for yourself.
Video test.
All right, guys. So as you can see, very, very pleasing photos. I had really no complaints with this camera. Low light isn't amazing, but it's not terrible either. I thought it was pretty good. I was pretty happy with it. I think that the cameras are obviously not the main selling point of this device, but I think they were competent shooters, and I think Microsoft did a much better job than on the Surface Duo 1. Like I said, I had no issue taking this on vacation and enjoying the photos I was getting out of it. I didn't feel like I was missing out, like, oh man, I wish I had an iPhone or a Samsung. Nope, I think this took really good pictures. I was happy with all of them, and actually some of the shots were excellent. So the one of the lake that I posted, really, really awesome shot. Like, I was very, very pleased with that shot. So I think Microsoft did a really, really good job here with the cameras. Not the best in the world, but pretty dang good. So overall, what are my feelings with this phone? The main issue that I had with the phone was just using it on the go. Constantly feeling I was going to drop it was not a good feeling. There's really not that many cases for it that fully protect it. And using it one-handed is nearly impossible when you're on the go. So if the phone is folded, right, and it's in your pocket, and let's say I'm holding something with my other hand, and I'm carrying a bag, and I'm in the airport, and I want to take my phone out and use it. Let's see if I can open this. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. You really you really need to have two hands to use this phone. And that is what I didn't anticipate was going to bother me so much. Like, I didn't even really think about it. I didn't think about the fact that when you're walking around an airport and you're holding a bag in one hand and you have a backpack on your shoulder and you only have one free hand to grab the phone out of your pocket. You know, if you're grabbing out of your pocket like this and you don't have your other hand, you can't really do anything with the phone, which sounds obvious, but it's like one of those things you don't realize how nice it is to just have a regular phone to pull out and just be able to use it with one hand. And you don't need a second hand. So that started to bother me personally. So that's something you guys need to think about. Are you okay with having to have a two-handed phone? You know, because otherwise the phone, in my opinion, has been mostly fine. It's just, can you have, I just typed in YouTube. I don't know where my brain is. Joby Tech. You know, the phone is cool. Now, I did not get a chance to use. So I think it's pretty neat. The speakers are decent. You're getting the dual speakers.
So, what's up, guys? It is Joby Tech here.
You know, let me see if I can.
Pixel 6 in 2022. Now, this phone, all the Pixel phones.
It has good speakers. Like, they're pretty dang good. They're not quite as good as maybe my iPhone speakers or the Samsung S22 Ultra, but they're pretty dang good, pretty close. You know, I think Microsoft did a good job. You know, when you're switching over into the full screen mode, not really what the phone is for, but you can do it, and, you know, everything works. There's nothing wrong with, you know, the phone itself. I think they've improved it so much over the Surface Duo 1. It's a completely different phone. Like, I really have had almost no issues, except for one app, which I will show you guys right now. There's one app I had problems with, and we'll see if I can replicate this. Hopefully this doesn't. Okay, now it opens fine. Well, when I used to try to open the NHL app, it would just keep force closing. I had to put it into full screen mode for it to fully work. I don't know why. When I was on vacation in Colorado, it wasn't working at all. But now it seems to be working. So now it looks stupid. But hey, that's okay. I'm glad that it works, because before it wasn't working on the single screen. It only worked when I had it on both screens. Okay, cool. So that is not an issue. Never mind. Yeah, I've had no other issues with any other apps. They've all worked perfectly fine. I do enjoy, being able to have, two different screens open. It is really cool. I like having the viewfinder over here. Everything's good as long as you are okay using this phone with two hands pretty much at all times. You're not going to be using, one hand to carry something and then pulling this out of your pocket and using it with the other hand. It's not what it is. Unless you're going to leave it in your pocket like this, which I guess you could do, but it's a little weird with how thick it is because of the camera bump. So I wouldn't really recommend that. And plus, I don't know, I'd just be afraid to scratch up the screens. And that's the one nice thing is you're actually protecting the screens with it being folded like this. So I don't know, unless you're going to do that, it's really hard to use this phone with one hand. But otherwise, pretty much everything runs really well. Reading on this is awesome across the two screens. I've really enjoyed that. Typing on it, I would say stick with SwiftKey, which is the keyboard that it comes with. I haven't had the best luck, I feel like, with Gboard. I've had some issues with Gboard where it just kind of stops working, which is a little bit bothersome. But yeah, everything loads good, loads fast. Usability day to day with the Snapdragon 888 is great. Again, as you can see, you got to get used to the touch. It is weird. Now, I've only had it for a week, so I'm still probably not even fully used to it, but I don't know. Maybe it's my weird thumbs. I don't know. Maybe it just doesn't work well for me. But you kind of got to push very deliberately and hard. So that's what I'd say. Can you use this phone on the go and have to have two hands available at all times? Is that okay with you? Can you get used to the touch sensitivity, which is really weird and really honestly something I can't really explain unless you just try it yourself. It's just weird sometimes where it just won't respond unless you push really hard. Can you get used to how fragile? I mean, this is a slippery, fragile phone. Can you feel comfortable using it day to day? Because if you're in your house, I'd say this thing is awesome. It's super, super enjoyable to use. Like popping up a YouTube video and just being able to sit it down like this, and play it. And, you have your own little stand right here. That's super cool. It's really fun. And using this while also, doing whatever else you want to do on a second page, a second screen. I mean, that is really, really cool. So it's fun to use. It really is. But can you get used to on the go? I've never opened those apps before. Can you get used to on the go not being able to use this phone with one hand, really? It's possible. It's just very difficult to do, in my opinion. Otherwise, it's a really cool phone and I really like it. But for me, I couldn't use this as a daily driver. But I noticed when I get home, this is the phone I want to use. That just about sums this up, I think, perfectly. When I get home, the phone that I want to use is the Surface Duo. It's really, really fun to use. It's just not my favorite phone on the go. And I think I'll leave it at that. So, let me know, guys, if you have any questions about this phone, any concerns, any comments, please leave them below. Any suggestions for future phones you'd like to see, please let me know. And again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.